In the previous video we put in a little bit more detail, started to think about some specific case studies of where we experience a urban heat island. I'd like to dig down a little bit further into wind in urban areas. Like we did before, I'm going to ask you to stop this video very briefly and remind yourself what we already know about the impact that urban areas can have on wind. So hopefully you have paused the video and you've made a list of things. So it's quite complicated. It can be a little bit complicated to understand, and it is related to the urban heat island. So we already know that urban areas actually have a lot of friction. So we do get wind being slowed down when it hits a city. So in general, perhaps at the more meso scale, we would get lower wind speeds because of the increased friction. Effectively, the buildings in an urban area act as a barrier to the winds, slowing it down. But as you will remember, it is more complicated than that. There are circumstances where, due to the positioning of the building and the wind bouncing off the building, you can actually get higher winds and more turbulent winds at ground level. So that starts to become quite problematic. So what I would suggest here is you take a photograph, or you can do a drawing yourself in your notes to show how wind can be deflected, concentrated, rediverted, and become very, very turbulent because of high buildings. So we're going to look at the case study at the International Finance Centre in Hong Kong, SAR. And if you look at it, here we see the podium level of the IFC mall. And specifically, I want to draw your attention to the canopy and the design of the canopy. Now, a lot of people think the canopy is there to protect, principally there to protect people from rainfall. Yes, of course, it has that function, but it doesn't explain why at the top here we've got a second canopy. It also doesn't explain why this canopy is actually not solid. You can actually see there are slats in there. So that's to disrupt the airflow, to deflect it away from the pedestrians. So the IFC, and as we can see here, the Four Seasons Hotel, they're two both very, very tall buildings. So even in calm weather, the wind speed at the top of those buildings can actually be very, very high. What happens is when the wind hits those buildings, it's deflected downwards. And if you didn't have those canopies, and here it's so severe, you've actually got two levels of canopies. If you didn't have those canopies, what would happen is that you would get very, very strong and turbulent winds at street level. They know this very well because before IFC was built, they put the building into a physical wind tunnel, but also a computer simulation. So they knew absolutely what the negative effects would be of those tall buildings on the turbulent wind if they didn't have those canopies. So there we can see it's a well-known process, it's something that we can model, and we know the strategies that we need to put into place. There's a fantastic video here. I would encourage you very, very strongly to look at that video. It's a really, really good video, and it does go through...
In this video, we are going to look in...
And in the video, it goes through the basics. It's got some quite nice simulations. So I'll let you watch that video through yourself. Let's just play it a little bit. There you can see the wind direction, the downdraft and the updraft effect. That's going to be significant. I'll pause that there because we don't need to watch it all the way through. You can watch that video through yourself. So just to review, in this video we've looked at how urban environments affect wind flow. Principally, we looked at turbulent wind flow and the importance of good building design and the management of these urban stresses. Like I said before, a systems approach, these are well understood. They can be phenomena. We know how to restrict them. With modern technology and wind tunnels and computer simulations, we can predict in advance most of the time when it's going to be a problem. Next video, we're going to go on to take a look at photochemical smog. I have mentioned that very, very briefly when we talked about winter smog. Photochemical smog is something slightly different. So that's what we're going to be having a look at in the next video.